Hello, good morning, everyone that has joined so far. We are just going to wait a few more minutes, a couple more minutes for more people to join, and then we will start with our today's webinar. Let's give it just one more minute. Thanks for your patience. I see more people coming on. Let's start in about a minute. Okay, I think we all set up and everyone else can join as we go. Good morning, everyone. First of all, I would like to welcome everyone on behalf of the whole team at Mixed Telematics and also on behalf of our partner, Road Safety UAE, to today's webinar, Telematics Return on Investment Beyond Road Safety. My name is Niels Kiern, and I'm heading sales for Mixed Telematics in the Middle East and Asia, and I will also be your host for today and moderate you through the program. Thanks for all of you to take some time out of your schedule to join us. In today's program, we were looking forward to providing you with some helpful information, powerful tools and methods that you can use in your business operations or fleets. That is the mission and what we strive for in today's informative webinar. We will begin our presentation in just a moment, but first I would like to state a few housekeeping items. Please keep all your microphones on mute and your cameras off for the entire time of the presentation until we get to the Q&A session at the end of today's webinar. All audience members shall feel encouraged to follow along the presentation and ask questions at the end, and we will do our best to answer all of your questions. Further, there will be an interactive element during the presentation, and we invite all of you to please participate. For now, on to our speakers. I'm pleased to introduce to you my fellow speaker, Lisa Henshaw, who is heading our customer success team in the Middle East. Lisa will be presenting not only valuable information on efficiency, but moreover, give greater insight into tools and methods of successful cost reduction. But before we have a look at today's program, I would like to thank our partner, Road Safety UAE, who collaborated with Mixed Telematics to host today's webinar. And therefore, I'm very delighted to welcome Thomas Edelman, the founder and managing director. So without any further ado, Thomas, I would like to hand over to you for a few words to the audience, please.
All right. Good morning, Niels. Good morning, everybody who is listening in this morning. Thank you very much for attending this webinar. I hope everybody is safe and healthy. And please continue to do so. Continue to look after yourselves and everybody around you. Now, it has been a pleasure to have been working with Mixed Telematics over the last couple of years. Mixed Telematics, they're very committed to road safety. It's really ingrained in their corporate DNA, and it makes Road Safety UAE and Mixed Telematics basically a very, very good match because we are sharing a lot of those values. Now, of course, we are in the middle of a very difficult situation right now. However, every difficult situation also offers opportunity for the future. And what we all have at hand right now, or at least most of us, is a lot of ample time, of spare time. and maybe we're doing things that we would normally not really have time to look after. So insofar, this webinar that we're doing today with Mixed Telematics goes exactly in the right direction. Right now, road safety might not be such a big issue for us, but for sure it will come on top of the agenda, hopefully very, very soon. And I think this period right now offers a great opportunity for us to get our act together and to plan for a safer future again as soon as we go back to normal. Having said that, again, please stay safe, look after yourself, after the health of yourself and all others around you. And having said that, Niels, I want to hand back to you. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Thomas. Wonderful. So with today's webinar, we will not only cover, but provide you with the following agenda. Lisa will demonstrate to you how you can reduce your total fleet costs, be more efficient, and ultimately increase your bottom line. We will specifically focus here on fleet safety, change behaviors, fuel consumption, and vehicle utilization. We will then also showcase you some of our real-life customer examples where we have successfully proven over and over again to deliver a strong positive return on investment. And last but not least, we will provide you with key resources to take away, allowing you to reduce your overall fleet expenditure. But before I hand over to Lisa and we start and dive into the actual tools and methods of reducing your costs around your fleet, I would like to start out with making sure every one of us has the same understanding of what telematics actually is. And here I would like to ask for everyone's participation in our today's poll. I would like to know who and how many of you are currently using a telematics system in their fleet. Please feel encouraged to interact with us now live and participate in the poll. I'll leave the poll with you for a couple of minutes to participate. Whilst you're doing so, let us get back to the question of what telematics is. The definition of telematics is widely used and sometimes reduced to just GPS tracking and location management. However, a strong, valuable delivery on telematics provides much deeper information and intelligence. Telematics is the technology used to monitor a wide range of information relating to an individual vehicle or an entire fleet. Telematics systems gather data including vehicle location, as we've just learned, but more so driver behavior, engine diagnostics, and vehicle activity. Thanks for everyone to participate in our poll. It then visualizes this data on a software platform, such as our Mixed Fleet Manager, which in fact helps all of you here in the audience, the fleet operators, to manage your resources and provide unlimited access to information about your vehicles and your drivers. It also offers a host of features, tools, and reports to help maximize your return on investment. But firstly, I want us all to take a quick moment to rewind back in time and have a trip down memory lane together. Here are a few things that you may or may not remember from the mid-90s, which is the time that telematics was born and Mixed Telematics was founded. Michael Jordan was still the dominant basketball player in the NBA. The first ever IBM ThinkPad was launched. And Windows 95 was the latest, most used and state-of-the-art operating system at the time. Do you remember something called Pokemon? Maybe. Motorola was still the most popular phone brand in the world, and my personal favorite, Macarena, was the top song of the year. What an absolute banger it was. You're probably thinking, what do all of these things have to do with telematics and fleet management? Well, in fact, not much at all. But I would like you all to remember this slide in a few moments that will allow you to connect the dots. Mixed Telematics, a partner with a purpose. So what gets us out of bed every morning at Mixed Telematics is striving to be delivering valuable solutions to our customers, enabling them to have safer and more efficient fleets and operations. There is a very clear meaning and focus behind all of our actions. with the sole purpose of increasing your customer satisfaction and helping our customers to achieve their organizational goals. So here we have some at a glance numbers about MiX Telematics. We are a pure global telematics player that is active in more than 120 countries, together with our partner network. We have about 130 in-country partners providing in-country support and expertise to all of our connections and clients. We, MiX Telematics, are the leading experts in multiple different industries such as oil and gas, transportation, mining, cement, and logistics, just to name a few. Together, we're currently monitoring more than 812,000 vehicles and assets on a daily basis around the entire globe. To make sure that we stay ahead of the game and position ourselves for the future technologies, we are reinvesting about 10% of our annual subscription revenue back into research and development every single year. Coming back to our more than 812,000 vehicles and assets that we at MiX Telematics monitor, maintain, and service every single day. With this amount of connections, it means we gather, for example, 600 million vehicle locations per month. We are recording approximately 430 million trips of our customers. And on a monthly basis, more than 820 million kilometers are driven by our clients, where we at MiX Telematics make sure that each and every kilometer of their fleet is monitored and serviced to the highest safety standards to prevent accidents, and also analyze whether an optimized fleet utilization has been applied. These are some quite astonishing numbers and cumulatively result in 79 terabytes of data every single month that we collect. And again, I would like you to keep this information, as this is also an extremely significant element in connecting the dots in just a short while. And maybe just to put these astonishing numbers a little bit into context, 820 million kilometers a month driven by our customers. If you look at the moon every night, the distance from the Earth to the moon is around 380,000 kilometers. Our customers basically drive to the moon and back in less than a daily shift. And if you look at a full lap around the equator, which requires us to travel around 40,000 kilometers, with 820 million kilometers, this means our customers drive more than 20,000 times around the entire globe in a month. Still, it's more than 67 times a day, and we make almost 3 trips around the entire world in an hour. And as you can imagine, we do collect an extremely large volume of data along all these kilometers. For example, harsh acceleration, braking, overspeeding, fatigue or distraction events, you name it. So let's move on to connecting the dots. Telematics is evolving, and that rapidly. Do you remember the slide where we all took a trip down memory lane together? Everything around us has evolved. Everything around us has changed, and everything around us has moved into the future. So did and does telematics. The challenges and issues we're facing and solving on a daily basis related to telematics are still pretty much the same, meaning the effect it has on fleet activities and profitability. For example, how do we minimize risky driver behaviors that lead to accidents and ultimately increase driver and fleet safety? How do we manage resource prioritization and efficacies? What are the road risks and how do we eliminate them? How do we successfully implement cost containment? These challenges are still out there. However, nowadays the technology, tools, and methods available to us have changed. We at MiX Telematics invest an extremely large amount of time and money in our research and development every single year. We work relentlessly to stay a fleet management powerhouse. And we're working on using future enablers such as machine learning and artificial intelligence and IoT to stay ahead of the game. Because high quality, validated data is the best way to deliver the most accurate results. MiX owns the entire ecosystem, from the hardware which is manufactured by MiX to the firmware which is developed in-house. We also run smart algorithms and do health checks with our data. So what sets us and our data apart? Well, for starters, our unmatched volume of high quality data gives us a more complete view of what is true risk. And then there's variety. The more diverse information you have on hand, the more it helps separate anomalies from confirmed patterns across a wide range of driving scenarios. Another key element is the velocity, the speed at which we capture data. But all this input in data doesn't matter or mean anything if it's delivering users information. And that is exactly why Lisa and her client success team work meticulously to provide actionable intelligence to our customers every single day. So before I hand over to Lisa, I would like to take you quickly through our 4 pillars when solving customer problems. Compliance and security are a vital part of our core of delivering a reliable fleet management solution. Safety will always remain a key role in that. However, in the light of the current economic climate and environment, we will focus on efficiency today and how we can positively impact your bottom line. Given the current COVID-19 pandemic and historically low oil prices around the $30 mark, we would like to guide your focus on our solutions and possibilities to deliver value in form of a positive return on investment to you. So this makes us at Mixed Telematics believe that with our mixed technology, our expertise and our successful experiences, that we have all the necessary solutions to provide the maximum customer value to each one of you. Based on that, I would now like to hand over to my colleague, Lisa Henshaw, who will take you through the next part of today's webinar.
Thank you, Niels. Good morning, everyone. I'll take the opportunity at first just to introduce myself. So my name is Lisa Henshaw. I've worked with Mixed Telematics for 8 years and I head up the customer success team based in Dubai. So in my time at Mix, the focus of my role has always been to ensure that the client is really maximizing the usage of the system, and the system and the information provided to our clients evolves and continues to evolve and align with our clients' land transport management policies and approach. Now, in the current climate, obviously in difficult times, cost control and efficiency is at the top of the list for our clients at the moment. Telematics provides us an incredible amount of information. Now, unless we do something with that information, unless we act upon that information, it means nothing. So what I want to do is take you through a few areas in which we can use the information to achieve tangible results for our clients. So we just move on to the first introduction slide here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take you through 3 areas here. I'm going to take you through utilization, and this is very much focusing on the number of vehicles we have and if we need that amount of vehicles. So I'll go through a few models on how we use, how we implement utilization with different clients, changing behaviors and the impact of cost of changing behaviors. Now that can be employees' behaviors, can be drivers' behaviors. And I just want to show you a few key areas in which we can influence that, and ultimately a client can get benefit from those positive changes. And the last area which I will focus on is fuel. Now, fuel is a large cost to companies operating a land transport fleet. It does vary country to country, region to region, and environment to environment. But what I want to do is introduce you to a few areas in which improvements can be sought. So we just move on to the next one, which is utilization. Now, if I went to my clients today and said to my clients, what to you is a utilized vehicle? Now, I would suggest 80 to 85% of my clients would turn around and give me a kilometers, give me a number of kilometers that a vehicle should be driven in order for them to deem it utilized. And I think an estimate would be around 2,000 kilometers per vehicle per month. Now, let me just question something here in regards to that approach. So if I have a vehicle that does 25 trips of 2 kilometers every day, is that underutilized? And to answer my own question, I think the answer is probably not. So when we're looking at utilization, it's very, very important to do it in the context of a client's operations. And that is what we like to do. Another area which we should always consider and look at is days in the month that a vehicle is used. Now, if we have 2 vehicles, both used for 15 days each during the month, do we need 2 vehicles? So what we do is we take the information we have, we analyze it, and we give that information in a format to our clients, which means they can take educated decisions on the fleet. So we just move on to the next one. What I want to do is give you a quick view. This is a very short slide where I want to give you a sample of a utilization report from the Telematics system. Now, you can see through the color coding and you know, the visual of the report, it immediately points us to several vehicles which are not being utilized. So having this information in a very readable, usable format is very valuable to our clients when they are analyzing fleet requirements and fleet needs. Okay, so what I want to do now is move on to an actual analysis that we did across one of our clients. So the client in question is a European-based client. They have nearly 1,500 vehicles in their fleet. Now, we spent a lot of time working with this client. We analyzed the different areas. And for this analysis, what we did was we broke down the days in the year into percentage brackets. And we put the number of vehicles within those categories for across the whole fleet. Now, if we take a look at the 0 to 20% category, so these vehicles are driven between 0 and 20% of the days throughout the year. So the average days used across these vehicles was 59, so 59 out of 365 days. Now, for a fleet manager, that's got to ring some alarm bells. We found 11 vehicles in this category, which is good. The vehicles drove an average of just under 4,000 kilometers per year. Now, obviously, then we have to start to question the need for these vehicles. You know, that equates to 330 kilometers a month. And you can see the number of trips driven by these vehicles at the bottom as well. So what we aim to do is we aim to guide our client to shift those numbers to the right in this table. So we move the vehicles where we are in the underutilized areas, and we want to move them on to the next step and then to the next step. So ultimately the goal would be to have a minimum 60% utilization across all vehicles in the fleet. So now if we drill down to what does this mean for a single vehicle. So here we've taken one of the vehicles that was part of that previous analysis. And, you know, we've broken down the activity of this vehicle and we've deemed it to have an 8.5% utilization in the fleet across 12 months. Now, I think anybody with or without fleet management experience could, you know, really raise some eyebrows there and question the need for this vehicle and the cost associated to having the vehicle in that fleet. So we just move on to the next one here. What does it mean? What does it tangibly mean in terms of cost for a business if we improve utilization? So ultimately, we will be able to reduce the number of vehicles in a fleet. I would say it would take a very experienced and advanced client to be at a situation where they had a fully optimized fleet. So reducing fleet numbers. Reducing leasing costs into the business, so reducing the cost of maintaining a fleet, reducing insurance cost. We're going to optimize what we work with. So if we look at a cost of a vehicle, and you know, this is probably a low estimate depending on vehicle type and vehicle use. So we got $25,000 plus the annual operational expenditure, which we would say is probably around $5,000 minimum. So if we think back to the previous slide, a vehicle that is 8.5% utilized in a fleet at a cost of $30,000, it's probably a saving we could make. So this is what we aim to do, is to give the information and for the client to use that information to make differences in their business. Okay, so the next area that I want to focus on, and this is a complex beast in itself, is changing behaviors. And what is the impact of changing behaviors through information and through knowledge? So we can look at personal behavior, and you know, by right, to an extent, telematics will make somebody question what they do with a vehicle, whether it's an unnecessary trip, an unnecessary detour, a route taken that perhaps shouldn't be taken. Journey optimization. So by having a telematics solution in place, we have a greater visibility across the whole fleet. We understand where vehicles are traveling in similar areas, doing similar functions, and using the information should enable us to really optimize our dispatch or our job planning. And you know, very, very simply, telematics will reduce the number of kilometers driven by your fleet, and obviously that has cost impact. This is because having a telematic solution will, again, as I mentioned, make people think twice about taking journeys, and reducing journeys will reduce the cost. So the next area, and you know, we are coming back a little bit to safety, but we must not discount the impact and cost of drivers. If we have drivers who drive better, it will save a company money, and we have seen this time and time again. Now, there's many areas in which we can consider this. We can consider it in terms of leasing and insurance, for example, which is an obvious correlation of you know, no claims, no accidents, less accidents, better premiums. Now, if there is an incident within a business, a lot of money and resource will generally be put into analyzing what has happened. Firstly, telematics gives us information to be able to determine that better. What else it does, it gives us the measure of how the drivers are driving. And if the drivers are driving better, we can deduce we will have less asset maintenance costs. And in terms of incidents, we will have less resource taken away from their day-to-day jobs to be analyzing incidents. So it's very difficult to put a monetary value on all of these different elements, but taking maintenance, leasing, insurance into account, we can see that there would be a significant impact there. Okay. You could just move on. So the last one that I want to touch on, and this is, I think, probably the most obvious one that we experience across our clients, and to a certain extent, it can often be the most challenging one for us to assist on. So fuel theft is problematic across the world. I think in certain regions it would be a much bigger problem than it would in others. And I think, fortunately, especially here in the UAE, it's not a major issue. Some of the neighboring countries, we know they are experiencing significant challenges. So what can we do? So, you know, first and foremost, there are sensors that can be added to your vehicle which directly detect if fuel has been taken out of the vehicle outside of the normal consumption from driving. So taking that aside, how does telematics help in terms of fuel theft? Sorry, Niels, can you just go back one? So in terms of fuel theft, telematics gives us visibility. So we would have areas where a driver or a vehicle should never, ever be. According to our operations, according to our business, the driver should never, ever be in this area, and it is a risk area. So through telematics, we can identify this. We can understand where her driver has been, where a vehicle has been, who was driving that vehicle. And this information being transmitted along back to the control centers does act as a deterrent in regards to fuel theft. So that's a small point on fuel theft. And now I'll move on to fuel efficiency. Now, I think, you know, it's without a doubt that all of our clients want to strive to improve fuel efficiencies. Now, I've touched on 3 areas here, which I will go into a bit more detail on. There are many, many more. So measuring a driver's performance. So if a driver speeds less, if a driver accelerates in a more moderate manner, if a driver is keeping relevant stopping distances and avoiding having to seriously break with the vehicle, we will see an improvement in the driver's performance. And this is, without any doubt, has a very large impact on the fuel consumption of a vehicle. So first and foremost, better drivers equal improved fuel efficiency. And telematics gives us the information and the resources to take the higher risk drivers and to improve, and ultimately we will see fuel efficiencies. Now, another thing that another area of information that we get from telematics is idling. So we understand sometimes there's very valid reasons to idle a vehicle. Sometimes there's not. And having information about when vehicles are idling and burning fuel is very, very valuable to our clients and does add an extra element to how we can improve fuel efficiency. So the last area I'll touch on this slide is using telematics to ensure our vehicles are working at an optimum. So telematics can connect and receive information from the vehicle's computer system. We can receive warnings, we can receive information about required maintenance. And all of these contribute to running a vehicle at its optimal. For example, if we have a vehicle running at a higher temperature, we will burn more fuel through keeping the temperature down within the vehicle. So ultimately, an optimally working vehicle will give us optimal fuel efficiency as well. So I'm just going to move on now to a couple of examples. The first one we will take a look at is a 12% reduction in fuel consumption. This was across the first 12 months of introduction of telematics. And this was from a US operator in the oil and gas industry. Another great example we have out of the UK is from a supply chain company who managed to reduce by 14% their fuel consumption. Now, in the UK, fuel is very expensive. So these savings have a very, very big impact on companies who have and operate large fleets. So probably the most remarkable one that we can see on here is a 24% reduction in fuel consumption across 6 months of implementation of telematics. Now, this will no doubt pull in many areas that we've touched on in regards to fuel improvements to obtain, such an amazing result. And this was a multinational construction company, largely operating heavy vehicles. Okay, the next thing I just want to have a quick show you. This is a matrix used by one of our clients. It's a FMCG company, operational in many countries across the globe. They operate a light vehicle fleet with largely sales reps as their drivers. So they've estimated across the board they would expect to achieve 6% savings on fuel, 8% savings in regards to insurance premiums, and an overall 5% reduction based on reducing kilometers, improving maintenance. And you can see they've done an actual calculation of the cost of the telematics solution in their fleet. This is in British pounds. And the savings that the company achieved through a very diligent and dedicated implementation of telematics. And they took the information from the system, they used it, and they action change, and they made improvements. Okay, so if I can just get you to move on, Niels. So this is a high-level view of some of the feedback and improvements we've seen across clients. So the first one is not something we necessarily spoke too much about before, is improving delivery times by 42%. So this is sleeker operations. This makes happier clients. This makes a big impact into cost within a company. Improvement in utilization, 30%. How have they shifted 30% of their vehicles up to the top utilization categories if we refer back to the previous table? Reduction in kilometers driven, 7.4% reduction in kilometers driven across the fleet. That makes a very, very big difference to cost, to fuel, to wear and tear on the vehicles. So it's, it does have a remarkable effect in that regard. Delivery time improvements, happier clients, sleeker operations, more information on which we can improve and continue to improve. Customer satisfaction, 50% now. Obviously a very difficult one to measure, but something that we all value in our businesses, and it's obviously, you know, fundamental to everything we do. Another client, utilization increased 20%. Efficiencies increasing 40%. So these is companies that have implemented telematics. They've implemented the infrastructure to manage telematics, to take the information and to deliver tangible business efficiencies as a result of the information they receive. And the last one that we can see is a client based in Europe who have calculated a €2 per vehicle per day net cost saving through having a telematics solution in place. So, you know, that allows us to really kind of quantify the impact of telematics. The last thing that I want to show you before I hand back over to Niels is, so this is a return on investment calculator that we use within Mix, and it's a very difficult art to master in terms of how we really capture all the cost savings in the different areas. So what we did was we built this tool which enables us to take information in fuel, in maintenance, in insurance, in leasing, in efficiencies, and pull it all together in order to quantify exactly what we've done in monetary terms for our clients. And this obviously takes into account very specifics of regions and of countries as well. So this we've seen as a very valuable tool to help with the efficiencies and utilization, ultimately cost savings for our clients through using telematics. Now I'll leave you here. I'll hand you back over to Niels. Thank you very much for taking the time to listen to us today, and obviously stay safe, everyone. Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa, for the informative presentation. Thank you very much. Before we close out today's webinar, we would like to provide you all with some useful resources and tools that will help you get a better understanding of what possibilities you all have in your fleets in regards to cost reduction, efficiency, and optimization. We're inviting you all to have a look into the following resources. Check out our fuel saving calculator, or have a read through our many successful case studies where we have together with our clients achieved tremendous results with significant achievements in regards to return on investment. Also, please feel free to browse through our many white papers we at Mix Telematics have published over the years, and come back every now and then to see what's new around the block. But most importantly, we would like to encourage all of you participants to engage with us, to get in touch with us if you would like to discuss any potential areas of your organizational challenges related to your fleet, drivers, and related costs. We're welcoming to one-on-one sessions with us to assess the return on investment opportunities in your very fleet. So yeah, please do get in touch with us. We are at our Q&A session now, so I would like to invite everyone to ask questions. Please unmute your microphone and state your name, and we will do our best to answer your questions.
Good afternoon, Niels.
Hello.
Hi there, Niels. I'd just like to ask a question about automated reports and how that might look from getting perhaps automated emails sent to me on driver behavior or fuel utilization, etc. If you can just elaborate on that, please.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Newman, for your question. Yes, we do have an array of reports that we can set up on the Mix Fleet Manager platform, and they can be generated according to your requirements. They can be customized according to your requirements, and it can be set up, for example, daily, weekly, or monthly, for example. These will then be sent out by email automatically to the selected recipients, and that will be saving a lot of time in the long term. I hope that answered your question, Mr. Newman.
Yes, that's perfect. Thank you.
And if I can just add to that, Niels, as well, you know, I think what we like to do is, you know, we can deliver you reports, we can deliver you information, but what we want to do is work with you and guide you in actually using that information in the context of your operations as well. So that's how, you know, we work within the customer success team as well. As I mentioned before, it's not about the information, it's about what we do with that information.
Perfect. Exactly that, Lisa. Thank you. If there are not any other questions.
Yeah, this is Mees Hartog from Wärtsilä. You can hear me?
Yes, we can hear you very well.
Oh, thank you very much. I have a question. I was looking to these statistics, very nice. I saw that the efficiency was, for example, 40% double of this utilization increase. And it looks to me there's also a relation with this delivery in time, because that was also approximately 40%. So I was just interested, because thank you very much. This is a very learning and eye-opener. Can you tell me something about that efficiency then? What is the efficiency then? What is measured?
Yeah, absolutely. So, can I just ask you to mute again? I think I got a bit.
Oh, sorry.
That's all right. That's all right. So in terms of efficiency, I mean, we obviously have to look at the context of a client's operation. So is it deliveries, and is it looking at what one vehicle, or a truck or whatever it is, what it's doing in the day, and we look at it on a map, and we look at vehicles in close proximity, or we look at route optimization and journey management and journey planning, and that obviously has a very big impact on the operations, where we're talking about deliveries and commercial. Now, in terms of efficiencies, if we think about some of the oil and gas sites, or in one of the mining fields, maybe we have 3 vehicles driving from the same location to the same location on a daily basis, but we don't really think about it until that information's presented in front of us. So we can give the ability to look at, carpooling options. So if everybody's going the same route every day, or do we need to replace 10 vehicles, 10 personal vehicles with a small bus? These are the things that we like to work with our clients to look at in terms of efficiencies, very much dependent on the business operations. But there's just a couple of examples for you. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, that gives me some ideas. Thank you very much. Then I have another question. I have raised it already one time more. I like to join always this by Thomas arrange things. As you mentioned, that definitely it leads to more safe operations. I have a little bit for a long time being quality and safety now, the last 10 years more. What I want to reach is that we use the insurance money for the assurance. So is there a link? Is it possible when they use your program, is there possible to reduce insurance costs? So that we get lower premiums, or how? Because you mentioned also that there is a profit in insurance, which is very important.
Yeah. So I think we got to take a step back and look at a bigger picture and how we get to the insurance cost benefits. Some insurance companies do now consider a telematics solution. It varies company to company. But a step back from that. So when we look to renew an insurance policy, what does the insurer look at? The insurer will look at the claims made against the policies and incidents that may have happened according to that policy. Now, from the very outset, when we put telematics into a company and into a fleet of drivers, one of our primary goals is to improve those drivers, to make them drive better. So if they drive better, there will be less incidents, there'll be less accidents. And when we come to insurance renewals, we'll be looking at a reduction of, 20%, 30%, 40%, 80% in the number of incidents and accidents recorded. And that information is obviously then considered from an insurance perspective. So we think about, no claims bonuses, and, an insurer will always look at previous performance when, providing future costings for coverage.
Yeah, look, where I'm coming from is that, in the mission that I like to, it's just to consider maybe an idea. For example, if there are more companies like you, that's for sure. Sometimes we think competition, but sometimes we should also realize that it creates also a market, of course. So for example, let's say if the companies like you're in, if they could have a certain together even more bigger, as you have a very big company, and they could make a deal with insurance companies globally that insurance premiums can be significantly lower by these programs, then because the money have to come somewhere, and we know where the money is coming from, is from business controllers and all kind of people. And I can tell you with the quality experience, as long as there is no accident, they think that the lowest cost is always the best, which is absolutely not too comparable as you saw the complex it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think, you know, from a mixed telematics perspective, we have a global team who work, I guess, you know, with looking at companies that do reach out across the globe, you know, like you said, across many regions and markets. And I know that they are considering and looking at how we can work effectively with insurance companies. So, you know, for example, the likes of Zurich or something, how do we approach and collaborate with Zurich to roll out something which is effective and relevant across the globe, as you said, not specific, but, you know, given the volume of client base that we have, how do we optimize that and work with insurance companies? So I think it's definitely something we have on the radar, and it is something we are, you know, hopefully we can give further insight into in the future.
Yeah, the last thing I want to mention is that I like always to compare things. It is like in the shipping industry, we call classification societies. So the classification society, if you go to the history, for example, from Lloyd's insurances, they are, let's say, had justify if ships can reach literally the other side. And based on that, they're putting, like in a gamble, they're putting premiums on it. So you could see that if, let's say, a company is a relative, will have lesser accidents by a classification by such companies as you, that should definitely give the insurer also much more evidence to can sell it for a lower premium. So I think there's a lot to aim in that.
Yeah, definitely. As I said, I mean, it's something we have teams, you know, I guess across the globe looking at, and, you know, hopefully we would be able to kind of elaborate and enhance that offering as well in the future.
And just to add to this, maybe just to add to Lisa here, I think also we as Mixed Telematics, we certainly can provide the evidence and can provide all the supporting information and stats for that, but then also it's down to the insurance companies and insurance industry for their willingness to adopt to this, and also then to create a product or an offering to their customer base. We certainly have the evidence and the supporting information for that on hand.
Niels, this is Mike from Wijngaard. May I add something?
Yes, please, Mike.
Just with regards to the insurance question, absolutely. Our experience is that in the UAE right now, the insurers are actually looking at that, and they've taken the first baby steps. In fact, we've engaged with them recently. So it's definitely some positive things coming to us, but I would certainly advise that you perhaps approach your insurer. Ultimately, they're in the business of risk, and you can, by having telematics, you can demonstrate that you are managing your risk very proactively, and I think they would look at it quite favorably. In other countries in the world, I know they are way down the line where they actually offer discounts on insurance premiums, specifically because of the proactive nature of customers by having telematics in their vehicles. So we look forward to the UAE accelerating their focus on this specific topic and for us to bring the benefit back to our customers.
Thanks, Mike. Just to give a brief introduction, Mike is our global head for channel partner strategies, and thank you for your valuable contribution, Mike.
Niels, if I can also jump in here quickly, this is Thomas again from Road Safety UAE. We have worked successfully on a very similar initiative with Mercedes-Benz. And the issue there was that Mercedes-Benz, they're coming out with constantly improved vehicles from a safety perspective. Now, if you buy a Mercedes-Benz truck with the latest set of technology that improves road safety versus a naked truck, Of course, as a fleet operator, you're looking at incremental cost. However, if you're a smart fleet operator, then you know that every investment in technology will pay off. However, we jointly approached an insurance group that is working in the Middle East. And this insurance group actually in a couple of countries followed this line of thinking, and they created a bundle offer jointly with Mercedes-Benz that when you are going for a safety enhanced truck, you would also get a reduced insurance premium. So there are case studies out there. It's actually really happening, as Michael also just said. So it would also be our pleasure to connect you to this insurance group, and I think then we could make it operational very quickly.
Wow, I'm really impressed. Very good. Thank you. Thank you. Applause for you. Very good.
Thank you, Thomas, for that, and thank you, Mace, for your questions and your input in our today's webinar. Thank you very much. If there are no any other questions, I would just say a few words before we end our session. I would like to thank everyone for attending our webinar in conjunction with Road Safety UAE. Also, again, thank you, Thomas, for your support as always. I would also please encourage all of you to send ideas for future topics that might be of interest or importance to you and your fleet, which we will then look into and address these in the near future and in upcoming events. We will also send out a copy of the slides and also a survey to you. And we will also be in touch with a date and a topic for the next webinar. That's it from my side. That's it for today. Thank you all again. And on behalf of Mixed Telematics and Road Safety UAE, be safe and stay positive in these times. Thank you very much.
Thank you.